Look at these numbers. These long numbers are America's debt to different countries, a number that changes online. More than $22 trillion. That more than $1 trillion is USA debt to China. The world's biggest economic debtor is also not very good at military terms. America, after the war in Iraq in 2000, didn't have any other successful war record. In the important developments in the Middle East region, the Syrian war was one of the least effective foreign forces involved in that war. Even after war, due to assassination one of the Iranian military men, it failed to defend its prestige in the face of the several Iranian missile attacks on one of its military bases. This means America's military is more weak than it shows. According to the American Journal National Interest, the U.S. military is extremely weak and incompetent, and the conditions are unlikely to improve. The Heritage Foundation Strategic Research Institute also announced in February the U.S. military power is weak. The media has repeatedly stated the reasons for this trend. Only 1/3 of the U.S. military and major tactical units are ready to engage in a real war. In addition, only half of the combat units are ready for complicated conflict. It's a long time the world's first power hasn't been able to get its rivals out of the competition. This power needs a new weapon, different from nuclear weapons, economic weapons, and military weapons. What is this weapon?
When I was a kid, the disaster we worried about most was a nuclear war. That's why we had a barrel like this down in our basement, filled with cans of food and water. When the nuclear attack came, we were supposed to go downstairs, hunker down, and eat out of that barrel. Today, the greatest risk of global catastrophe doesn't look like this. Instead, it looks like this. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus rather than a war. Not missiles, but microbes.
Biological weapon. Almost without a clue, without realizing who the killer is, no need to answer in international forums at a price too much cheaper than a human-made military strike, the terrible recession in the affected countries, and of course, with the lowest political cost for the invading country. What better than this? Till now, Corona has cost China $62 billion in losses. The damage is increasing every day. Add to this the number of the infrastructure repairs, the sharp drop in exports for the next 2 years, and the collapse of the tourism industry. And of course, in these Apocalyptic days, it seems, for another country. This malicious virus is not bad. America.
The fact is, it does give businesses yet another thing to consider when they go through their review of their supply chain. On top of all the other things, because you had SARS, you have the African swine virus there, now you have this. It's another risk factor that people need to take into account. So I think it will help to accelerate the return of jobs to North America.
According to Forbes' latest estimates, Mr. Ross, President Trump's longtime friend, owns a net worth of $600 million. That would be a huge benefit when jobs return to the U.S. Let's get back to the biological weapon. World War II was one of the first places that biological weapons were used as military soldiers. Unit 731 was a secret unit for research and development of microbial and chemical weapons in the Japanese Empire military that experiments forced to kill people alive during World War II. This military unit was responsible for doing some of the most terrifying crimes by Japan. The official name of the military unit was the Kwantung Army Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. The Unit 731 was created beginning by the Japanese Army's military police, but from the end of the war it was under the command of Major General Shiro Ishii, one of the combat medic officer in the Kwantung Army. Only in the Pingfang camp, between 3,000 to 250,000 men, women, and children lost their lives because of these medical exams. The Japanese researcher examined plague microbes, cholera, botulism, chickenpox, and more on prisoners. The research produced defoliation bacilli bomb and bombs including flea for expanding bubonic plague in China cities. These bombs enabled Japanese forces to spread blackheads, cholera, typhoid, diarrhea, and plague-borne fleas and other deadly diseases to crops, wells, water tanks, and other areas. Apart from Japan, the Germans were also very skilled at using viruses, and of course, Americans too. The United States began its research at 1943 to use biological agents. This program officially continued till 1969. At those years, Nixon, as the President of America, ended this program, and the prepared materials at 1971 and 1972 were destroyed with the presence of the Ministries of Defense and Agriculture. The substance include anthrax agent, tularemia agent, Q fever agent, and several viruses. At the same time with the end of this program, the U.S. Army launched the Microbial Defense Program in the war from 1953 till now. The use of anthrax agents against Indians and the use of African plague against Cuba were the results of this research program. It's interesting to know the biological operations were carried against Cuba after Nixon's termination order. And this means that the U.S. military is very focused on continuing this program secretly. This closest example of these activities can be found in HIV. Yes, you understand right, HIV. Of course, you think by yourself that HIV is transmitted from monkey to human, and what's about America? HIV is a modified and involved laboratory virus from Visna virus that was first tested on Icelandic ships. At 1971, Dr. Gallo published his article on HIV, and it's interesting that he applied for a patent for the virus. Gallo, who is a member of the Federal Virus Secret Program, received a $550 million budget for worldwide population reduction operations that eventually led to the creation of the AIDS virus. SARS is referred to as another human-made virus that results from the combination of the Irian virus and the measles virus, a compound that is not found in nature and must be produced in the laboratory. But corona. You must have heard that corona was transmitted from the bat soup, from animal to human. The first question is this, that the scientists said the coronavirus will disappear at temperatures above 30 degrees. How has the virus not been eliminated at the boiling temperature of the bat soup? The coronavirus is not a biological assassination or transmitted disease from animal to human, but it's a biological weapon made in the laboratory. Abkhazis discloses that the virus is not the result of eating a bat soup, but rather is a tested and made virus. And second, there are many wild bats in neighboring Wuhan province that were the source of corona spreading, none of which were corona transmitters. Why? The third is the advanced corona component, which has components linked to the HIV virus that cannot be produced in nature. Let me tell you an Israeli story. Scientists at the Galileo Research Institute of Israel are now claiming that they will develop a vaccine for the coronavirus within a few weeks, which will be distributed and used within 90 days. It's interesting, only 90 days. The Institute claims it has been investigating the bird coronavirus for 4 years, funded by the Israeli Ministries of Science, Technology, and Agriculture. They say the virus resembles the one that infected humans and made progress in genetic manipulation, but some scientists have been skeptical that a new vaccine could be developed at such a rapid rate to prevent the virus that has only been around a while. They have also warned that even if such a vaccine can be produced, it should normally be adjusted to detect its side effects, a process that normally takes more than a year and involves its use on humans. It is also affected. Now, if you assume that if the United States were involved in the creation of coronavirus at the Maryland Biological Weapons Research Center, then the idea is likely that Israel would be a partner in the project. The help of Israel scientists in developing the virus also explains how they have been able to claim to have developed a vaccine at such a rapid rate, possibly because the virus and its treatment co-involved. Add to this analysis some of these clues. First, according to the Dim Sum Daily database, with the outbreak of the coronavirus, United States has called out citizens from China. It means China doesn't know how to deal with the virus, but the US probably knows for its own citizens what the solution is. The next case was the Igor Nikolin, a former member of the UN Commission on Biological Weapons, unveiled the call. At this call, Chinese officials tell them, next year, the coronavirus has been Americans' biological warfare against great American rivals. The next important point was the conversation that some people had with Washington Post, and tell them coronavirus is created by 2 Chinese and American scientists in US military laboratories. Not even the Hollywood movie Contagion that has direct references to a pandemic virus.
And then 16. In 3 months, it's 1 billion. That's where we're headed.
They're calling out the National Guard. They're moving the president under.
Steven Soderbergh was thinking of making this film, influenced by early 21st century diseases like SARS and swine flu. Unlike many low-level films, the genre has portrayed a perilous learning as well as various angles. Contingent visits to online movie streaming platforms like Amazon and iTunes have also exploded growth and became one of the most popular and hot topics in the audience.
Hey, get away from there! Get away!
The attraction has grown to such an extent that even writer and director Barry Jenkins, the Oscar winner, has moved to watch the film again. He was also eager to watch the acclaimed Soderbergh with the outbreak of corona and watched along with Lulu Wang, the director of the film Farewell. In the movie of Soderbergh, the virus that makes people sick is called MEV-1. and is very easy to pass from person to person. The virus is first found in East Asia, and its symptoms are several coughs too. Like most viruses that cause breathing diseases, so the story has many similarities to the COVID-19 virus or the new corona. But the difference is in the deadly of the virus. The fantasy virus of contagion kills millions worldwide. What might happen to corona? Can it be said that America, like the rest of the adventures that had been preparing its audience for mental preparation before it happened? No one knows, but the evidence is very close, like the story of September 11. During the years before 2001, at least about 30 other films and cartoons were depicted as destroying the Twin Towers of World Trade Center in New York. And in fact, New York was an apocalyptic city. But except China, in which country is America's rival and enemy? Corona is more prevalent. Iran. Suspects in the United States are happy to hear about the number of deaths in Iran. Mark Dobowitz, executive director of the Washington-based Democracy Defense Foundation, which is affiliated with the Israeli government, said, "The coronavirus has done something to Iran that hasn't imposed U.S. economic sanctions, shut down non-oil exports of Iran." A spokesman of the Iranian government said in response, expressing the joy of spreading a deadly virus and enjoying seeing people suffering from the disease is shameful and inhumane. In another tweet, Dobowitz said that Tehran was spreading terrorism in the Middle East and is now spreading the coronavirus.
بنابراین این قابلیت میتونه به ما نشون بده که اون کدام کشور هست که قابلیت داره. البته تو دنیا روسیه و چین همین قابلیت ها رو دارن، نه که فقط امریکا. ولی این گسترش آزمایشگاه امریکایی دور و بر ما هست که معلوم میشه کجا هست.
Given the remarkable progress of coronary artery disease in Iran, Iran's passive defense chief announced the existence of 25 secret U.S. four-level bases are around of Iran. That's the choice with you. The coronavirus has occurred naturally either from a laboratory in China itself or even from Israel or has came out from America. If anyone is suspected of Israel or the United States, it is clear that the aim is to build a biological weapon. But the coronavirus cannot be easily contained, and it is clear that thousands will die. Unfortunately, as we've seen with Stuxnet, once the giant comes out of the bottle, it's very difficult to bring it back into the bottle.